James A. Keeton Jr. had his sights on being a corporate attorney after he left school, but God called him into ministry, and nowadays he's the pastor of Morris Brown AME Church in downtown Charleston. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with him one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Rev Keeton.
Yes, sir.
It's so good to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
I appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you. We've been trying to get together since I've been in Charleston.
That's true. Matter of fact, I ran into you last time was at Qology where I work.
Yes.
And, as you know, and I just told you, we have award-winning barbecue there for wings and ribs and tacos.
Yes, I have to get there and try.
Oh, please, come on down. We'll be right there.
All right.
Matter of fact, I'll be there once I leave here as well. But I want to go back to, you talked about this last year. What was your first time here as pastor at Morris Brown AME Church?
Yes.
I know you came here a little bit around November.
Yes.
What has that been like? What has the ride been like in your mind?
It's been good. Morris Brown, as you know, is a very historic church. It's great people at Morris Brown. And it's been a great almost 15 months. And I thank God for this opportunity. And I'm excited about the future of Morris Brown.
You talk about the future. I want to go back to your article that was published in the Post-Inquiry by writer Adam Parker that is last year. And he wrote this, actually, quote, "He's young. He's new in town. He's got some clear ideas about the obligations of church. The Reverend James A. Keeton Jr., 37, is the new pastor of historic Morris Brown AME Church on Morris Street. It's a big job in a thriving AME district at a church with a reputation for addressing social justice issues and fostering community." Let me go back to the top of that. Obligations of the church. What does that look like right now in your mind?
Right. So the obligations of the church and the community have to work together. So much of, I think, some of the challenges that the church is facing today is we have become disconnected from the community. When we look at the words that God gave the prophet Jeremiah, he tells Jeremiah to seek the welfare of the city, because in its welfare you will find your own. And so the church has to be obligated to be present in the community.
Sure.
We have to help the community. We have to help young people. We have to help families. We have to move beyond the walls of the church and be involved in the community. When we do that, the church has a deep obligation, from the words of Jeremiah to the Great Commission of Christ, to go into all the world, make disciples, teach, baptize, and we always have the assurance that wherever we go, that God is right there with us.
That's true. Amen to that. The community. What does it look like right now in your mind?
The community, as I understand it, of course I'm new to Charleston, but the community in Charleston is changing. Gentrification on the peninsula. When I talked to Reverend Joseph Darby, he told me when he came here to pastor in 1998 that the majority of members were able to walk and live in close proximity to the church.
Right.
That's no longer the case. So with gentrification, it provides new opportunity to do ministry in different ways. And so the community is changing, but there continues to be very identifiable needs of the community. One of the things I'm most excited about now is the Sojourner Truth unit of our Women's Missionary Society.
Right.
Once a month are giving breakfast to those who are less fortunate than our neighbors in need. There continues to be so many opportunities to do ministry, from feeding those who are less fortunate to being a very relevant presence in the life of people who are going to work every day and people who need help, to housing and affordability of housing, to challenges in the educational system, to encouraging young people in single-parent households. There are plenty of opportunities to be present and be the hands and feet of Christ in our community.
Yeah. And let me go back, because, when he says this in this particular paragraph, that is, it's a big job in a thriving AME district at a church with a reputation for addressing social justice issues and fostering community. So what are those other issues in your mind?
So, I mean, there continues to be so many issues. We live in a time where since the last presidential election, the issues of race and diversity have been more present in America than in recent American history. There are so many times now where we are seeing challenges in places being diverse and challenges to unity. And I think that when we look at the history of the African Methodist Episcopal Church,
Right.
and more particularly the history of Morris Brown in this community, it has been a church always at the forefront of social justice issues. And I think with some of the challenges that we're seeing now, especially over the last year and a half, it gives us an opportunity to continue to stand at the forefront and to champion equality, to champion unity, and to try to speak to any force or opposition to that unity and diversity. And so we have to be at the forefront to be a unifying factor for Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And let me go back to the article. It reads this: Keeton likes schools. He got a bachelor's in history from Albany State University, a master's in political science from the National University of Ireland in Dublin, and a master's in divinity from Duke University. He's not done. Now he's completing a Doctor of Ministry program at Southern Methodist University. What got you from history to now being a Christ follower?
So I always liked social sciences. I remember in high school, my senior year, I received the Social Science Award for my senior class.
Wow.
And my goal in life was to finish a history degree at Albany State and go to law school.
Wow.
In the midst of that, I had an opportunity to live in Dublin, Ireland,
Wow.
and get a master's degree in political science. And so it was still my goal, and the Lord called me to ministry. And when the Lord called me to ministry, everything changed. I answered that call to ministry, and I went on and I matriculated at Duke Divinity School in Durham, North Carolina, where I received a master's degree in divinity.
Wow. So we see it right up here.
Yes, sir.
And you talk about change. Obviously, you moved here to Charleston with your wife, Leslie, and your two sons, Tyson and Justin.
Yeah.
What was that process like in your mind?
Well, being in an itinerant ministry in African Methodism,
Right.
we have been very accustomed to moving. We were married. All of us are from Georgia.
Yeah.
We had an opportunity to serve a church in New Jersey, and then in Erie, Pennsylvania, and now we're in Charleston.
Wow.
I had a colleague, a Baptist colleague the other day, says, what do you think about all this moving stuff? And I say, it can be, sometimes it's always positives and challenges.
Sure.
But it's good. We get to meet so many people, and we get to work with so many people who have different gifts in different places.
Right.
And we thank God for this journey. I thank God for a great wife. It's not many wives who would be so dedicated in relocating.
Yeah. Right.
But I gotta admit, we hope we stay in the Low Country for a little while to come.
Let's believe God for that.
Amen.
And you talk about growing up in South Georgia, according to the Post Inquiry article.
Yes.
Who was James Keaton growing up there?
It's funny because my mom was an educator for 35 years in Cairo, Georgia. My father was an AME pastor. And so having parents who were so visible in the community, I was just known by a lot of people there. I was always a very talkative child, sometimes very mischievous. But it was great. I thank God for my childhood and growing up in a place where truly the village raised the child. And so I have nothing but fond memories of growing up in Cairo, Georgia.
Wow. Sunday service.
Yes, sir.
What is it? What's different about it now than when you started out as a pastor?
One thing that's different, you mean from the time I began as a pastor
Yes,
to
sir.
now?
Yes, sir.
I think overall, the church has an added opportunity to show how Christianity and the church are still relevant in the lives of people. I think so many times because the church is not in the community like it used to be, and so many times with theologies now and doctrines in the church that seem to promote a more internal organism rather than going outside of the walls of the church. I think sometimes people struggle to see the relevance of the church and Christianity, and internalize Christianity as a more individual kind of relationship, when truly we all need an individual relationship with Christ. But the church at its core has to be a community of believers, a community of those willing to follow Christ.
Right.
And I think that because we have failed to do that so many times, that the numbers of people attending Sunday worship are not what they used to be. And I think that that's directly related to the fact that the church is not present in the community like it used to be. It's one thing if we stay internalized and we work with only those in the church. We don't have an opportunity to go out and do the things Christ is calling us to do in the community. And when we fail to go out and do those things, it's nobody who sees the relevance of the church like they used to, who's willing to come in and to be a part of this organization that's so great. The church, that is the community of believers of Jesus Christ.
Nice.
And so since the beginning of my ministry, I'm able to see where a lot of times church attendance is not what it used to be. And I think that's directly related to the church not going out into the community the way the church used to be. When you look at the 60s,
Right.
and you look at the civil rights movement, there was an intricate connection between church and community, but so many times today we don't see that.
So let me reset. We're sitting here at Morris Brown AME Church here in downtown Charleston. And of course, you've been a pastor here for over a year. What is your vision for this church?
Well, the vision is as I alluded to just then,
Right.
is to get the church more connected with the community. We can do this in a number of ways. Of course, the social justice tradition in which we stand as an AME Church is one way that we have to continue. We work with CAJM,
Right.
the Charleston Area Justice Ministry. Right now, this year, the issue for CAJM that is dealing with is the housing. It's a shame that so many people live in downtown Charleston, work in downtown Charleston, and can't afford to live here. So we are strengthening our relationship with CAJM, but we are also trying to do things to partner with area schools and do things to help the young people who are coming along. We want to be a place that is a community church where we have that intimate connection with the community, and we seek to do things where we're working together. Because as the community improves and as the community reaches its full potential, the church and the community will arrive at those places together.
You know, usually when Sunday talk shows, prepare for the week, they begin at the beginning of the week. And I know that you have to begin preparing for your sermon on Sunday.
Right.
What is that sermon going to be like?
It's always something different. It's amazing to see the text that God gives to preach. And the funny thing about preaching and sermon preparation is God always preaches to you before you preach to the people. I heard a preacher say one time that he takes his shirt off every week and he's bloody because the same sword that God uses to cut the people in the pews cuts him first. And that's true. So many times you see a passage, and in the midst of preparation, God moves and shows you things that you never saw in the beginning. And so it's a very tedious and long process to prepare a sermon, but God knows it's worth it. And God always has unexpected things that he reveals in those passages.
Yeah, you read about that. So I'm here with the Holy Bible, digital version.
Yes, sir.
If I could go scroll through the Bible right now, which version would you pick out for yourself to describe you?
Which version?
Yes, sir.
You mean which translation?
Oh no, not that, not the King James version, but which scripture? I should say, to describe you.
That's a good question. And I hate to keep going back to it.
Okay.
But probably the thing that challenges me the most would be the Great Commission in Matthew 28:16 through 20,
Right.
where Jesus tells his disciples to go into all the world, to preach, to baptize. Well, actually he says teach and to baptize. And he promises that everywhere they go, that he'll be with them even until the end of the world. And so as I think back over my ministry and all the unexpected places that God has taken me, if you would have asked me 14 years ago when I got called to preach, if I would be pastoring Morris Brown AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and I would have pastored St. James AME Church in Erie, Pennsylvania, or Parkside Church in New Jersey, or Williams Chapel and St. Paul in Georgia, I never would have thought that my ministry would have taken this course. But truly, in the words of John Wesley, the world is our parish. And so we go to these places into all the world and we teach and we baptize. And one thing I can say for sure is everywhere that the Lord has taken me, God has been with us every step of the way.
Right. That's true. And you wanted to be a corporate attorney.
Oh, yeah. I want to be a corporate attorney dealing with contracts and different things.
Right.
But God has a different way for me to advocate.
That's true.
And so I'm excited about where our church is going. I'm excited about the power of God to continue to move in our community. And I know for sure, as we always say here at Morris Brown, the best is yet to come.
That is so good to hear. Well, Reverend James A. Keeton Jr., thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing to work together with you.
Yes.
In any way that we can ever help you here at Morris Brown, we're happy to do it. And looking forward to some good barbecue.
That's right. And the wings are good.
All right. I will definitely try that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you.
Me too.